Ace Ventura. When you were going to all the different orgs and seeing the fail that COB was creating with the ideal orgs, were you doing any auditing during this time? What about sec checks? Could you explain how a Sea Org mission works? A Sea Org mission is basically like a project that two or more Sea Org members are sent out on in order to get a very specific thing done, usually at a location remote from a Sea Org base. Very rarely are Sea Org missions sent from a Sea Org base to its own base. If there was a specific, backlog project or some kind of handling that needed to be done, then they might do that on their own base and fire a mission in order to get that project done. But most of the time they're sending them somewhere else. Missions are something that Hubbard started back when he was on the ship, on the Apollo, running Scientology internationally from that ship while it was sailing around. And when orgs like, Tampa or Austin or Milano or whatever org around the world was, not getting its shit together, was not getting stuff done according to what management was directing that it get done, Hubbard would send a couple Sea Org members out there to kick ass and take names, basically. And he wrote various policies and issues laying out how missions are supposed to be done. Missions are supposed to be very snap and pop, A to B, rat-a-tat-tat, dot, sort of activities where you go there, you get the project done, and you get back. And that's it. And there's no messing around. And Sea Org members who go on these missions have to be trained on special classes called mission school, right? There's mission schools, second class and first class, and you go and you do this training. Every Sea Org member does it. And then you're eligible to go out on these missions. There's a lot that I could talk about with missions, but that's kind of encapsulating what it is. And I went on lots of missions when I was a Sea Org member, because I worked in management and situations had to be dealt with that sometimes required a personal touch, required a person going there and getting things done because the local staff weren't getting it done. Or later on in my Sea Org career, I went out to do these ideal org missions where we were going out and recruiting a bunch of people because there was no way that the staff at the local church were going to get all of that recruitment done. Or I was recovering people back into Scientology because, again, the local staff were not getting that done. And then the final mission that I went out on was actually when we opened Twin Cities Church of Scientology in its brand new 90,000 square foot building. We had a mission there that were 4 of us in order to kick the staff in the butt and get them going and get all these new people, running the organization the way Hubbard said they're supposed to run it. And of course, that's not what we were doing really. We were really there making sure that they were making money for the IIS, but it's a whole separate discussion. So as far as me getting auditing, the reason that this is all into this question is when you're out on a mission, you do not get study and you do not get auditing. And I was out on mission a lot. So for the last 3 to 4 years of the time that I was in the Sea Org, since I was out on these missions and projects all the time, I wasn't getting any auditing, which was nothing new for me because in the 17 years that I was in the Sea Org, I very rarely got any auditing. But I did get a lot of sec checks and security checks, which is the confessionals where they ask you for your crimes and that sort of thing, and you're sitting there holding the meter and you have to fess up when something comes up on the meter to confess. So after part of being on a mission is when you come back from a mission, you're supposed to get a return from mission sec check. I very rarely got those because we were always in such a hurry and there was always a turnaround and that sort of thing that they didn't always follow the policy that they were supposed to follow on this. And I got a couple of them, but I didn't get one every single time. And the return from mission sec check was usually just a few questions. I think it was maybe 4 or 5 questions or something, like while you were on mission, did you do anything that was, did you commit an overt while you were on mission? Did you do anything that you shouldn't have done? That sort of thing, right? While on your mission, were you hiding anything about your mission? While on your mission, did you go off your mission orders? Those kind of questions, right? When you're on a mission, it's not just a roll your own, figure it out as you go sort of thing. you have a specific set of mission orders, which are targets to get done at the place you're being sent to. And when a mission is being briefed, there's a whole process to this, and the briefing is the first phase. You get the missionaries, you prep them, and you brief them so that they know what it is that they're supposed to do. The mission orders are written, they read them, and then you check each other out on them. You know, you ask questions to each other, make sure you understand what the mission orders are all about. And then you guys who know about Scientology and clay demos, you're supposed to actually put the mission orders in clay. And so there's a big table and a lot of clay, and you're making all these little clay figures of you and the other people on the mission and where you're going to go and what you're going to do, and you have to demonstrate all of this in clay. And then when you're on a mission, every day you're reporting back by telex, which is basically an email, to the mission operator, the mission ops. So there's somebody who's running you and keeping an eye on you and you're supposed to report back to this person every day with dones, right? Not every target you report on, and the target is either not done, or it's in progress, or it's bugged, meaning you're trying to do it but you can't get it done for some reason, or it's done. And the whole idea is to get them all done, of course. And when all the targets are done, then you come home. Or if the mission is a total failure or a flop and the mission gets all bugged up or can't get done, then they pull you back, and that's called being recalled. Your mission got recalled. And if you get recalled, you're generally in a lot of trouble when you get back. You can get in a lot of trouble depending on the seriousness of the mission and how severe it was that you screwed up while you were out there. So there's always a little bit of a risk factor being out on a mission. But I found missions to be lots of fun because they were they were something I was going out and doing that was different, and I got to kind of go out there and use all my skill set and everything, and you had to think on your feet and figure things out, and it was very unusual. Every activity that you go out on a mission and doing generally tended to be kind of interesting stuff in one degree or another. From my, I'm of course speaking from my viewpoint as a Sea Org member at that time. I mean, I look at it now and I'm like, Jesus, what a waste of time. But at the time, it was the best I could get, and so I liked being out. Plus, when you're out on mission, you eat out all the time. So I didn't have to eat the crap shit food that they were serving us on the base. And you stay at hotels, so you're staying at a pretty nice place compared to your crap-ass room that you're in when you're on the Sea Org base, right? Because I had this little tiny room with my wife, and it sucked. So I had a hotel room, I had a TV, all this kind of stuff, right? But you don't individually have your own room. Generally speaking, you're going out with another person. They're keeping an eye on you, you're keeping an eye on them, so you guys don't go totally off the rails. And so it's not like we're really sitting around watching a lot of TV. But if you were out on mission with somebody else who wasn't going to report you and you weren't going to report them, you're like, hey, let's watch some TV. And it's like, okay, it's all good, right? Or you sit there and play around on your laptop and, mess around on the internet, right? And this is how I would spend my time when I wasn't working, when I'd get, secure late at night. So I generally enjoyed being out on mission compared to the crazy antics and frantic emergency situations that were always going on the base. It was so much better to be out on mission, even though often when you're out on mission, there is a lot of pressure on you to get the targets done and get back. And some of these missions I was out on went for a couple weeks, other ones went for months. The final one that I was on was a months-long thing, and it looked like we were going to be there for like a year. And keep in mind, that whole time that I'm out there on those missions, I was away from my wife, which is one reason why my marriage, after a few years of this, eventually tanked. So that is how missions work, and at least a summary encapsulation of them, and also answers why I only got sec checks during those times that I was out there and I wasn't getting any auditing.